Hi, I'm Johnny and you're watching the Hexy Beast. Today I'm going to be doing a solo review of this game right here, Mutants, the card game. Anyway, let's get this to the table. Okay, so this is Mutants the card game, published by Lucky Duck Games and designed by Sen Foong Lim and Jesse Wright. So let's just get on with it, shall we? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is look at how to set up the game. So when you start the game, the first thing you're going to want to do is, especially when playing solo, is grab this player board for the boss. You'll also grab the boss you're playing, which in this case is going to be the Singularity Wizard, which we'll place here. And if you look here, his health is 40, and we've already set that up. So we're just going to shuffle these, as you do, and then stick them into this boss deck spot here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set up ourselves. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make sure you have one of each of the basic cards so that you can start the game. And there's basically 6 basic cards. We have warriors, zombies, beasts, aliens, and demons. And as you can see, they've all got a corresponding icon in the corner. So the idea is you will shuffle one half of these and put them down here as your player deck. And then you will take the remaining 6, so you have one of each kind of resource in your hand. And then once we've done that, you're going to be constructing, or in this case we're not, because we're going to be using one of the basic decks. For the sake of this game, we're going to use one of these pre-constructed. And the one we're going to be using is Vicious Cycle, which will show you exactly what mutants are going to be in your supply. So without much further ado, we're going to look for this little icon in the bottom corner of the pile of advanced mutant cards. So as you can see, this icon's in the bottom corner. We're just going to pull out all the ones that are for the Vicious Cycle set. Okay, now that we've pulled all these cards out with this icon in the corner, we are now going to construct our gene pool, which basically means shuffling the cards and dealing them into 3 piles of 4. And before you're ready to start the game, we'd flip the top card of each, showing us what's available for us to get in our gene pool once we start the game. You do have the option to mulligan, which basically means you can do this once at the start of the game, but you can take one card from the top of each of these piles and cycle it. So because we've got this Pyrothorpe, I'm going to mulligan and cycle that, and it shows us a Buffalo. So I think that's pretty much set up that with. Now we're going to talk about the gameplay. Okay, so the way that Mutants the card game works is that I'm going to be playing cards from either my hand or the gene pool in order to move up this Fury track. And when I do, once I reach the top, if I gain any more Fury, I will be pushing my opponent further down. The main goal is to reduce our enemy's life points. And for each turn that he's in these bottom 3 spaces and we're in the top one, he is going to lose 2 life up here per turn. The game is played over 5 rounds, and at the end of all 5 rounds, we're hopefully going to be able to reduce this to 0 and thus defeat our boss. The setup instructions for this boss are just shuffle the Singularity cards from the boss deck and place that deck in the boss area, which we've already done. So basically, that is how the game is set up and what you're trying to do. Okay, so in Mutants the card game, the boss always goes first. So right now we're just going to pull a card from here and put it in his active slot. It says here that he gains +3 Fury. So we're going to move this yellow track up 1, 2, and because the third one, he's going to move me down. So basically, it would now be my turn. So out of our hand of 6 cards that we started with, I have choices now. I can either gain VP through crushing the opponent, which is something I just explained, but as you can see, no one is in the dread, so that doesn't happen. We can move our active mutant to the left or right to push them, which we're not going to be able to do now as it's the first turn. And then we've got to take one of these actions, which is either to deploy, which is to play a card from my hand, to breed, which is to spend 2 mutants with matching corner icons, so that I could play one of these 3 mutants up here, and then to incubate, where we would spend 1 card, but instead of gaining the mutant to our play area, we would then put it into this incubator slot by here, which would then keep it until the next round where it would be added to our hand. So basically that's how gameplay works, so let's just get on with it, shall we? So for the first thing, we've had this, he's gone up 3, and for my first turn, I think what I should best do is get this buffalo, which means I'm going to have to use one of the beasts, based on these icons up here, look, and my zombie. But I might actually incubate it instead. I'm going to spend the beast into my discard pile, and I'm going to incubate this Pyrothorpe ready for round 2. Okay, so this goes back into my hand. We then flip this over, and then the enemy will take another turn. As you can see, the arrow on his sign tells us he's going to be pushed left. So he gets pushed left, draws another card, and it says if he defends, this card will leave. Some abilities will either have their shield on them, or they'll have an attack sword on the bottom of them. Basically, anytime a sword ability goes off, the opponent can use one of these green defense abilities to block it. So that would make it my turn, and I'm going to choose to play this zombie, because as it enters, it's going to gain me 2 fury, and when it leaves, it's going to freeze, and freeze basically means you get the value of this in damage on the enemy, and it'll go by here on the board. But for now, we're just going to play this, which goes in there, gaining me 2 fury. If we both have equal fury, the most recent player to gain it will go on top and will be considered ahead for the sake of argument. So we've done that, and we're basically, turns will continue like that until either, we've reached the end of the round when we've used all 6 cards. The boss won't take another turn after me, he only ever goes before me. But for this turn, Supermassive Black Hole is going to leave, which means that on the way out, it's going to do this effect, which is +2 fury. So even though we're equalizing right now, because of his fury, he's going to push me down 2 spaces. We basically keep continuing that through multiple rounds. So for my next card, I am actually going to use the breed action if I can. And it looks like I can. This demon and the robot on my turn is going to get put into my discard pile, and I am going to gain the Eva's replication card and put it straight in. And I've chosen to push my zombie to the left. Okay, so basically the game will continue like that until you've done that for the end of the round. So now we're just going to take a look how it looks at the end of a round. Some cards like this escape velocity have a weakness. So basically, in order to shatter the weakness and gain the damage from the value in this gold coin, you would need to gain power while having fury to shatter the weakness, which for us, luckily, we just did. So this card is now going to get removed from the game, and we're going to do 2 damage to our enemy. So at the end of a round, your board will look something like this. And because I'm further up the track than the yellow guy is, it means that he's going to suffer damage equal to the red number. And we're going to move the round tracker forward. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 damage. And then we're going to move on to round 2. Basically, the game would keep playing like that until you've played all 5 rounds. And hopefully, you will be able to basically put this right down to 0. If you do, you win the game. If at the end of 5 rounds you haven't managed to reduce the enemy's health to 0, you lose the game. Okay, so if at any point you deck out and you need to draw another card, you would basically shuffle this discard, like so, and at the same time you get to choose 1 out of your discard pile to put into the freeze spot. So I'm going to choose to freeze this beast, and that would then do another damage to the opponent, which will then cause my deck to shuffle and go back there. You would then draw any cards you need to complete your 6 card hand. Okay, so that's pretty much how the game is played. So let's just head back to the table and I'm going to tell you some of my thoughts. Okay, so now we're back at the table and I'm going to tell you what I think. So first of all, for aesthetics, this game gets an 8 out of 10. I really do enjoy the card designs. I find them very clear, very easy to understand. The icons in the corner make it very easy so that you know what you need to gain those advanced mutants. Um, I just think it generally pops overall, extremely colourful. You know, a lot of the cards have really nice designs on them, and I really think that really makes the game look pretty on the table. For gameplay, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Basically, I like it because it plays rather quickly. It doesn't take forever to set up. In fact, you can set it up very, very quickly. It's a really good game to play in between other games. Gameplay-wise, I really find the strategy of moving cards left or right before you play a card really helps you sort of like tweak those strategies and get them so that you can really put your opponent into a place where he's about to take on a massive combo that you've set up over the 3 cards in your current play area. I also think that the game itself is just it's just quite strategic. I just really enjoyed it. I found myself playing it a lot more often than I thought I would. So now we've spoken about gameplay and it's got an 8 out of 10 for that. Let's talk about accessibility. Okay, although I found the game fun and I find it easy to learn, I will say there are some problems. Mainly with things like the rulebook, which I'll try and find over here now. There's actually quite a lot of misprints in this rulebook. It says things like deckers, etc. The rules seem like they have obviously been translated from a different language, and it's quite obvious to tell because some of the explanations are just quite hard to understand. Also, there are some misprints on some of the cards. For example, in Jack Ice's boss deck, it says each turn he will switch to his werewolf form. Well, this should actually say each round. So there are a few mistakes. So for accessibility, I've decided to give this one a 7, which basically means that my final score is a 7.6 for this game, which is still very respectable. I think it's a fun game and it's probably going to get to my table a lot. One of my main gripes for the game is the fact that there are only 2 bosses in the core set, which basically means if you want to continue playing after you've run through all the decks and started constructing your own, you're really going to want to buy those expansions. So basically, that's what I think of the game. If you like what you see, please feel free to smash that subscribe button up there and check out another one of my videos up here. I've been Johnny, you've been watching the Hexy Beast, and most of all, stay Hexy everyone!